everyone. Welcome to Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Business Development for Parabolas. We provide a better financial partner for government contractors by government contractors. The purpose of this program is to assist small businesses with success and growth in the federal marketplace by providing them with quality information and access to industry experts and opportunities. Today's topic dives into knowing the why when engaging with federal agency. And our expert really needs no introduction. And you guys have heard me say his name a million times. I think every podcast I've done for the last 6 months. Go-to guy Timberlake is here with me today. He's my friend. He's my mentor. And I always say he's my greatest resource to my network as it pertains to quality information and assistance for growing GovCons. He's the CEO of the American Small Business Coalition. And he is absolutely one of the most fantastic human beings I've ever met. Guy, I am so excited to finally have you here. I can't believe it's taken us this long.
We've been a little busy. We've had a few things going on, right?
Just
a couple of RFI town hall, some, Tower Club meetings. There's one coming up on the 23rd at the Capitol Wheel. So it's a lot of stuff. We have not been slacking. Let me say it that way.
Absolutely. And I love having you around so I can ride your coattails in all of these events. I always make the joke that I moonlight as your the president of your fan club, and it ain't a lie, man. I'm proud of that role.
Well, I appreciate all the love for sure. Look, you are a rock star. And so just all the things I see you doing out there and all the giving that you're doing on a regular basis, you are honestly one of the people who puts everyone else first, and I'd say to the chagrin of probably Parabolas sometimes, put it before the business, but it's what makes you who you are, and it's what gets you the business that you guys are getting right now. It's why Parabolas is going to continue to be successful.
Well, I appreciate that. And I learn from the best. I mean, I think, our chairman of the board always says you can do well if first you start by doing good. And I was raised like that. I know you were too. And we live in a small world in government contracting. So what you do and how you treat people goes a long way. And so,
absolutely.
I'm a firm believer in that. And, I listened to your conversation with Mark Amtower on his podcast a little while ago. And I thought, can't believe that he beat me to it. But of course, the Godfather had some ins, right? But, you wrote this amazing blog a couple of weeks back, and it's something that resonates with a lot of the events that we've been doing together lately, is coaching businesses on how to interact with purpose and intention with federal agencies. And I think, we say a lot that no matter how good you are at what you do, it doesn't necessarily translate into success. You have to know how to play the game. And you're a former athlete. I am too. And there is a level of understanding the rules of the game and rules of engagement in order to promote yourself better. And so your blog that I'm speaking of, that I want you to chat with us about, is talking about the why and understanding how to capitalize on that so that it makes sense to the people that you're actually presenting that information to. Because I think a lot of people don't really know what that looks like.
Sure, absolutely. And it's funny, between you and Mark and a few other people, I'm going to have to turn this into a program. And I think that one blog is going to end up becoming like a little talk show that we end up doing and bringing folks in, because my only goal in writing it, and I want to give props also, to Anna Ehrman and Glenn Robinson, because this is stuff that I talk about all the time anyway, whether it's in boot camp or one of the tactics, tools, and resources programs. But it was a post that Anna Ehrman did on LinkedIn that just really kind of surmised what this is all about. And her comment was, I don't know if it was to anyone in particular, but it's more than just number crunching and reviewing historical contract data. It's as much about agency goals and objectives. And that's my paraphrase of what she said. And part of the industry, and I'll say some of the misnomer and mystique of government contracting is who people are told to target. Right. And so if you listen to the normal den of our industry, you come in and you're told certain information, part of that being contracting officer, contracting officer, contracting officer. And it's not wrong, but it's not entirely complete either.
Right.
There's more to it than that. And we can talk more about, kind of our views and what, the contracting officers do and kind of what their role is in the whole life cycle of a purchase. But knowing the why really is getting to the heart of purpose, mission, priorities, goals, objectives, whatever you want to say it as. And we say this a lot, the government doesn't buy stuff, generally speaking, just to buy stuff. There
Right.
really is something behind it. And that's where knowing the why comes from. Why are they doing it? Why are you relevant? Why do you matter? And why do you have the knowledge, or the insight to help them get to the finish line, whatever that particular finish line is.
Right. And I think some of the newer businesses, just by the way that it works, don't know what they don't know. So they're not asking the proper questions. But there's no excuse for the ones that have been engaging for a while. And there's a lot of them. I mean, we talk to procurement analysts and contracting officers all the time. They talk about the leading with the wrong type of information and not providing enough of what they can do to provide to the mission. And there's a lot of different nuances of marketing yourself, doing the proper research for the agency, and then marketing yourself accordingly, that I think that businesses don't address properly. And so they're misusing the avenues that the government provides to them to provide that type of interaction. And then they're afraid of the engagement. We have these contracting officers show up at the events that I'm at with you. And am I wrong that people line up like they're going to kiss the Pope's ring? I mean, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. I can't even get a picture to market these people that I've actually been at an event with them, because I got to wait in line for 20 minutes. And I love it because I think that it shows the level of reverence, if you will, that people have to the process. Right. But I think there's enough information coming out of programs that the ASBC and GovCon Club and Government Contracting Club are producing, that you know how to navigate it on your own then. So you don't have to wait for those, slight opportunities when you actually do have, 5 minutes with someone to tell them a few things about yourself. You can maneuver it on your own.
Sure. Well, and so it's funny. One of the things that I think that is part of the issue is the inconsistent messaging. You have a lot of great organizations out here. It's by no means just what we do at the American Small Business Coalition. We are part of the greater community that is providing good information and good resources and good opportunities for lots and lots of companies. And I'll say the names. When you talk about organizations like AFCEA, and you talk about organizations like PSC, Professional Services Council, and NDIA, and so forth, they all fill a void. There's always something that they're doing. The challenge is, from both industry and the government side, is inconsistent messaging that is also not always in context. Mm-hmm. And so we make the joke about the three things you hear when you start as a new government contractor, and it's get all your NAICS codes lined up, get an 8A certification, and get your GSA schedule. Well, That's great for probably a pretty good chunk of companies, but not everybody can become an 8A. Not everything is bought against the GSA schedule, and NAICS codes, well, they don't tell the story that most people think they do. Right. And so that's, falls right in step with go to the contracting officer. And again, it's not the wrong answer, but the contracting officer doesn't control what is getting purchased or why it's getting purchased. And so when we talk about the why, if you want to understand the why, there's another part of the organization that you need to be able to probe into and touch to be able to get that answer. To understand, I literally just got approached by someone who is got a SaaS application that has ramifications in the financial arena for organizations like Treasury and so forth. And I had a chance to review it, and they want me to help them kind of position it. And I had to go back and say, okay, why? Okay, Why are you doing this? What is it that led you to create this particular app? What do you know about the use of these other programs in the government that this app is going to talk to? And who are the organizations that are the stakeholders, that are the champions for these programs and so forth? And ultimately, what's the outcome? What is it that you can quantifiably tell that organization or a person in the organization, this is what's going to happen? And I know based on where your agency is going, what priorities you have, this is something that's important to you.
Right.
And we skip that part in most instances, and it's simply about getting the sell. RFP is coming out, I'm going to bid on it. RFQ is coming out, I'm going to bid on it. RFI is coming out. I have no idea who this is, but I'm going to respond to it. Mm-hmm. And it's all those different things.
Right. And all of that is time and money lost if not done properly.
Right.
So it's spinning your wheels. It's a hamster on the wheel.
Well, and that's the cab fare we talk about,
mm-hmm.
The cost of acquiring business. If you don't have good controls and efficient processes for how you're doing things, somebody else will.
Right.
And by the time you get to, the point of submitting a response, you've spent more time and money trying to get to that point that you're going to have to raise your price just to get made whole. Whereas
mm-hmm.
somebody else who is more efficient, has the information they need and so forth, they can go in at their normal rates and they're going to smoke you pretty much.
Right. Well, to that point as well, there's way too much quality information that is accessible through the programs that ASBC, GovCon Club, and not to be confused. And I want you to talk a little bit about some
Sure.
of the changes that are coming up and a positive direction for you and your organizations and some of the programs that you're putting out with your team that can coach these businesses through this. Because why try to go at it from a perspective of lack of information or go after it? You say it all the time. There is a difference between getting information and quality information.
Absolutely.
And you guys are providing, and I have witnessed it because I have clients that you and I have shared, who I spoke with them, knew that they were headed with improper information to go after an opportunity. I set them up with you, and literally one of them the very next day met with a federal agency and landed a contract opportunity because she tweaked her approach with the information that you and your team gave her. And it opened up a door of multiple opportunities. Now her head is exploding because she can't even believe what's happening. So, I mean, it's a testimony right off the bat. And she's a small business. She has corporate experience. She's got very limited government contracting experience, but she's a go-getter. And she took what you told her and she turned it into an opportunity that's going to give her a lot of success. So talk to us about some of those programs.
Well, and what it was is, and that one was pretty cool because it was actually a double tap. She actually reached out to somebody else in her same cohort and partnered with them for this one. So it was actually two people in the same boot camp cohort, one. And the boot camp is one of the big ones. And that is the program, that I tell everyone it started as a joke about 12, 13 years ago. And all these years later, it's no joke. And people say the most wonderful things about this program. Ethical Stalking for Government Contractors is a program that we have created and fostered and nurtured over a lot of years, starting with it being a 1-hour program long time ago to now being a 1-year program. Starting with a 2-day immersion, group coaching calls, and then ongoing training for the course of a year. And the goal really is to give people clarity. We talk about connect the dots and being able to see what you're going after. We have a lot of really smart people in business in this industry, and just by virtue of them being committed people, smart people, good business people, they should be winning. Some of them are, a lot of them are not. And the big disconnect is context. The minute you walk into federal contracting, you are hit with information that in a lot of cases has no earthly good outside of the four walls of federal contracting. So unless you were born here in this industry, there's no reason for you to have any understanding of what it actually means in the context of a federal agency or a civil defense agency or someone like that. And that's where the big hiccups are. That's where the challenges are. People make assumptions as opposed to going and getting the information, the validation that they need.
Yeah. I mean, and you guys are doing a lot, and I love the boot camp, and I love the name Ethical Stalking. I think that it attracts from the best possible place, because if you aren't, really intelligent about market research, which is exactly what that leads to, then you're going to be missing out on opportunities. And I know countless people that I talk to that had never heard of PSE codes before and how many times I've met someone for the first time and they're like, do you know the difference between a NAICS code and a PSE code? I'm like, Guy, don't you? Because no other people are really honing in on it from that granular of a perspective. But that is public information. You're giving people information that is readily available to them that won't cost them extra, which is the beauty of it, because you were around before all of these other apps and websites and services were even around. So you had to do it the old fashioned way and figure out what was going to work best. I mean, that's why your expertise lends itself so well to a business owner, because you were doing it for companies long before any of these resources were available.
Well, and more to that point, what we try to really focus on, because here's the thing, a lot of people have caught on the bandwagon now and are starting to talk about all the various engines that are out there hosted by the government, everything else. Even the government, is getting more fancy in the things that they're doing. FPDS being the granddaddy, built in the 70s. And, everyone I know pretty much hates it except for like me and Michelle Bull and a few other people.
Yeah.
But I'm like, hey, it works. It does what I ask it to do. But, GSA just rolled out their new category management workbench, for example, that consolidated about 6 or 7 tools into one platform. I showed it to someone the other day who is almost as long in the business as I am and works in a different part of the life cycle, but was kind of like, that's kind of cool. Did not know that was there. I'm like, that's why we do what we do. And so it's not taken away from some of the third-party tools out there. There is a benefit to a lot of them. Generally, economies of scale is what it is. The challenge, again, is, and you've heard us talk about this, a lot of us, raising my hand because I've done it too, have gone out and bought apps or software solutions, not just because we needed whatever scalability it gave us. We were also in the back of our mind hoping that it would give us process.
Right.
And that's bass backwards, as they say.
Yep.
You've got to have a system in place already for how you're going to collect, validate and process information and use it in your organization, and then find the tool that can complement what you're doing. Knowing the why lends itself to almost all the other blogs I've written. As we're talking, I can invoke what's your number, and where we talk about, business development is a finite activity. There's a beginning, there's an end. And you've got to be able to understand exactly where you start and where you finish, or you're going to just be on that hamster wheel, just endlessly doing things. We talk about knowing the difference between buyer and customer, how agencies buy. These are all the different blogs that I've thrown out there on LinkedIn and our website. And the reason we do it is we chunk it out. What we have found is, we call the first 2 days of boot camp the immersion for a reason, because we're literally putting you in a big tank and then filling it up with water and telling you to swim. We're literally saying, you got to get through this. And it's not so people commit stuff to memory just like that. It's so that they've been touched by it, because it's going to come up again. And we say, take the 3 things that mean the most to you right now, and we're going to dig deeper into those. Everything else, put it in the back burner. And when it comes up, it'll at least be more familiar to you than if you'd never done that. And then that's the part that I think I'm enjoying. This last cohort we just had some phenomenal people in there. another referral from Parabolis, also from Teresa. But it was great because we had people in there that were experienced working with small companies, had worked for large companies, had worked for the government in there. And one of the things I love the most is when I get someone who was a customer in the government. What it means is they were not a contracting officer. They were not part of the buy cycle. They were part of execution, for the agency. And we had 3 in the last cohort. And we got in the conversation of NAICS codes during the level set. And everyone always gets a little skittish about NAICS codes. There's enough out there about me, and they know I'm going to attack them. They're not them, but the NAICS codes. And so everyone kind of comes in sheepishly. Say, look, don't worry about it. Just here's the question I have for all of you. When you were doing your job for the U.S. government and whatever agency you were a part of, how many times per year did a NAICS code influence how you got your job done? And the answer has been consistently never.
Right.
And so I said, so why would that change now? All right. And so the point is, if you're getting to the why, it's beyond NAICS codes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. NAICS codes are reporting instruments. It has nothing to do per se with the work to be done. It's an industry designation.
Right.
And so I'll kind of leave it there, not to perseverate on NAICS codes this time. But the point being, though, is then it gets into thinking more about someone that's not a contracting officer. Who's your customer? What is the role of the person that would be responsible for either acquiring or implementing what it is you're going to provide to a federal agency? Reach out to them. This is where our friend Mark Amtower, comes into play. Mark does his annual census on LinkedIn. And I've been using this information for decades, since LinkedIn first came out. But now it's to the point of, Mark said, last census, 551 company pages representing a federal agency, 2.5 million people associated with those agencies. That includes employees and contractors that are working on site, FTE, whatever it is. You can find pretty much anyone and anything, of relevance to you using that kind of tactic, that kind of information. Go, we have companies that work in environmental construction, all these things. Go find the construction manager.
Yep.
Reach out to him or her, have a conversation. And it's not always that easy, but if you at least include that, you raise the odds of getting to a meaningful outcome.
Right. There are some that aren't going to respond the way that we'd like them to, but
sure.
I mean, I do LinkedIn stalking. Half the people that I have on the show, I'm like, listen, I knew you before I knew you. Want to know how? I was following you on LinkedIn.
Sure.
Anna Herman, I had her on a couple of weeks ago, and I told her, I am not afraid or embarrassed to let on that before you introduced me to her, I was following everything. She's prolific like you are with putting out information, but she's also, as smart as she is, she's very approachable. She's a small business advocate in a big way. And she is accessible to businesses who reach out with the right types of questions. And that's what is beautiful about your programs, because not only are you giving people the tools that they need to navigate properly, but everyone and you have no problem sharing your network with people. And so the access to opportunity that the ASBC provides to your constituents is ginormous. I mean, I've seen it. I've been able to grow my network in such a positive way because I can say, hey, Kevin Bacon ain't got nothing on go-to guy. There's like 4 degrees of separation. I tell everyone, if you need me to introduce you to someone, I know a guy, literally, and his name is Guy, who's going to know a guy or a gal that we need to connect you with for an opportunity. And
so now I'm going to have Kevin Bacon. I'm going to have Kevin Bacon coming after me now. So,
hey, wouldn't that be good publicity though? I don't think he's doing anything right now.
And what's funny though is, and it's, yes, I definitely know a lot of people, but honestly, I think there's more people that know me that think well of me
Yeah.
And I think that's honestly, Mark Amtower, said this years and years ago. Probably when he was on my board. As a matter of fact, when we started the American Small Business Coalition, it's not who you know, it's who knows you and what they think of you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And so I have a lot of awesome, amazing friends just like you who not only believe in what we're doing, but also have that same just instinct and drive to be helpful. And we do it in different ways. I mean, I can go down the list of the Courtney Fairchilds and Ton Wilsons and my friend Stephanie Zink and on down the line. And so there's so many people, and then the folks we have over at the Government Contracting Club, and the Chris Brinkers and Maurice Springers and folks like that. So I just kind of get to be the guy with the big mouth, that goes out and gets to do his thing. But it truly takes a village. And that's what makes this kind of special for me. Maggie and I had no idea what we were doing in 2004 when we launched the American Small Business Coalition. And lo and behold, something magical happened. And the magic was more for the people that were in the community than for us. We benefited from it. Absolutely. It's a business, for us. It's our family business.
Yep.
But we have had so many people then and even now coming up saying, yeah, I did this, or I met this person. You told us to do this. And, oh, by the way, here's what happened like 6 years ago or 2 weeks ago. I'm like, cool. Did not know that.
Yep.
And so, but it truly is the village.
Well, it's a testimony to your consistency of character. And I think that's what you and I share that in common. And I'm not tooting my own horn saying I've got the most character, because trust me, if you could see me behind closed doors, you'd probably be disappointed in me most of the time. But that's for my mother to give me the Catholic guilt on. And we'll talk about that another time. But, I think people get what they see with you 100% of the time. This is not just go-to guy when he's on a podcast. This is who you are always. And that's why I will forever refer people to you with your programs and your services, because you're a good human first.
Thank you.
The majority of the stuff that you do is not for profit. It is for just the sole fact that you genuinely love helping people. And it shines through with your passion and what you do. When you stand up in front of a room, you command every single person sitting there, not only their attention, but their devotion to what your message is. And that's why people show up the way that they do and the numbers that they do. And I'm damn proud to stand next to you. And with that being said, we got some pretty cool events coming up that we're going to be doing together. I stand next to you on purpose so I can, like I said, ride those coattails. But we got a big one coming up in a couple of weeks.
You got to watch out for the flack though. Okay. So,
hey, bring it on. I can handle it.
Now we've got a couple things coming up. I mean, heck, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, just to not to date the podcast, but June 9th, I'll be doing one of the Government Contracting Club breakfasts, talking about simplified acquisitions leading into the fourth quarter. On the 17th, we're bringing out Stephanie Geiger and the gang from Government Marketing University, talking about your fourth quarter, marketing campaigns. How to get a busy season campaign that moves the needle. We've got one coming up the end of July, and that'll be the RFI Town Hall, the next iteration of that one, which was awesome the first time around. Yep. So there's a lot that's happening. And then we've got the two special events that are coming up. Can we talk about these actually? I'm not sure. So the one on June 23rd is an invite only. So folks, the way you get invited, you got to know Teresa, or you got to know me, quite honestly. But June 23rd, we're doing an event down at National Harbor, exclusive, and it's going to be govies and industry just hanging out, socializing, not a selling opportunity. It is going to be great food. It's going to be fun. And so if you're curious about that one, I can't say any more than that. You got to reach out to Teresa or reach out to me and you can get some more details. But that's the first one. The other one we're doing is going to be July 28th, and that's at Topgolf National Harbor. And we partnered up with a buddy of ours, Nick Nyack, and we're going to be doing, again, an industry and government swing time social. We're going to be doing a special event over there. And it's an invite only event. So you got to know one of the sponsors. And we've got about 5 or 6 of them already on board, including Parabolis, who is going to be the presenting sponsor for both of these events. So we've got all these great things coming up. And this is kind of the kind of bucking the norm on the events that we do. Instead of just the usual bring a govie in and put him in front of the room and let him talk, which we value that. It's tremendously important. I just want people to get together. I didn't start this. Nick Nyack was already doing this. You don't know who Nick Nyack is, go look him up. Last name Nayak on LinkedIn. You'll see why. But Nick reached out. We started working together, and we said, hey, this could be kind of fun. We could do some stuff that is not the usual, droning on type events, and let people genuinely come together in a social setting and get to know one another. And that's kind of what we're doing.
And it's going to be awesome. And I can't wait. And I'm excited for being able to share this with my network. And I know you are too. And it won't be the last. So if you miss out and you don't see this until after it's already happened, we'll definitely do it again. But
there will always be more.
Where people want to be, because we are passionate about getting people in front of ways to grow their network in a positive direction for opportunities at the end of it. And so, I want to close out today by giving you the last words. I want you to tell the network that's listening how they can find you, how they can access your programs, and also some tips that you would be willing to leave a business with, just to give them a little taste of what it's like to be a part of your programs.
Absolutely. So let me start with this. So we have, we started in 2004 as an organization called the American Small Business Coalition. And we've matured and grown and changed over the years. And most recently, we were known as GovCon Club. We have departed, separated, divested of that name actually as of June 1st officially. And it's going to be a progressive change we're making. But we are, once again, the American Small Business Coalition. That's our birth name. So everything we do is tied to that. Working together with Teresa and lots of other great folks, we have multiple personas. So the American Small Business Coalition is us. That's our organization, me and Maggie, and Michelle Bull, and then all the folks that jump in to volunteer and help us do what we do. At the Tower Club, where I've been a member since 2004, I lead a committee that is called the Government Contracting Club. And Teresa and Parabolis are sponsors of that program. And Teresa's also part of the advisory committee for that program. And that is a Tower Club program. It's a member-led activity called a club within a club. And we host regular activities there, about 5 different programs, couple a month, that gives people a chance to come and partake of the wonderful, magnificent Tower Club, service and hospitality and ambiance, but it's on our terms. So you walk in the room, you are in government contracting. I mean, that is what's going on there. We just had our friend Jaime Gracia out from Department of State. I don't know if Jaime could have killed the room any more than he did.
Yep.
People were floored, stunned, and amazed because he was coming out with haymakers of information and talking very specifically about programs. And this is kind of where I'll leave my tip, for folks too. Understand first and foremost who you are. What is it your company does? What makes you good? I'm not going to say unique. I'm not going to talk about differentiators, because the differentiator for me is always the people. Mm-hmm. So start with who you are and what you do, and then understand the relevance between what you do and who uses it, and how they use it, because what you offer is going to be relevant to more than just one entity in federal contracting. And then the next thing is this: understand what's important to them. All right. The PMA, President's Management Agenda. If you've never been to the website, performance.gov, go there, take a look. You can get to the business plan of the CEO of the country, and then all of the representative departments in that company, where they talk about their charter, their priorities, their objectives, and how they're going to go about doing it. Understand words like CAP goals, cross-agency priorities, understand APRs, annual performance reviews, and look these up for the whatever organization you're doing business with. Look at those. They're telling you literally their marching orders from the boss on what they've got to get done. And the more you understand what direction they're moving in, you can basically align your efforts and your offering to those and complement them. Last thing I'll mention is this. Why does the government buy anything? For me, it's so they can do better. And the best way to really understand that is to go to the website called the Performance Improvement Council, PIC.gov. Understand who they are, what they do, and you'll understand that they are part of a series of interagency councils used throughout federal government that performs different missions. And the more you understand about them and what their initiatives are and how it matriculates down to the various agencies, it'll make it easier for you to align and also to tell your story, because you've done something prior to this that will probably matter a lot to them based on where they're trying to go. That's the connection point for me.
I love it. And that's what you're the best at, is by connecting those dots with information. And I love that. And I love you. I'm so glad I finally got you on this, and I'm going to milk the hell out of it. This is going all over the place. We're going global. We're going to break the internet with it. Yeah.
Let's have a little bit of fun with it, and we'll do it again. But I see you got some of our other good friends coming on too. So I'm excited to see how those guys come on here, and they're going to slay it. It's going to be awesome.
It's great. And I loved having you, and I'm going to have you back again soon. And I encourage everyone to follow Guy on LinkedIn, follow his links to his organization so that you can get involved with his programs. If you've got a growing business development department in your company, or you need help with engaging with a federal agency, it's the place to be at every event with us and in his boot camps and all of the other programs that he's involved in. So I highly encourage it. And we're glad that everyone was here. This has been Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Business Development for Parabolis. And stay tuned for what we've got coming up this summer. Aside from the events that I got going with Guy, I've got some fabulous guests that are going to be on with us. And I just can't thank you enough for joining us. Thank you again.
Hey, this was awesome, Teresa. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. See you guys soon.